The Encounter by Alison Pennington. At Christmas time, many years ago, I went for a walk in the winter snow. The festive season got too much. I needed to get out. Get back to where my mind was free and, as the Aborigine, go on a walkabout. So I grabbed my coat, the dog, and breathed, slowly unwound, found some peace. The beat within my footsteps there was therapy for me. Nothing else, just rhythm, focus, mindful positivity. I kept on walking across the moor, past bramble, thicket, hedge, and made my way from Howden Moor across to Derwent Edge. In silence then, I stopped and listened, and like some kind of premonition, my senses told me he was there. Then there he was, a mountain hare. Monk's snow on bracken, keeping warm, there inside his shallow form, nestled in the ice and heather, ears pinned back and paws together. He seemed a part of the fallen snow, an ancient soul from long ago. His coat of white to camouflage his body sleek, his ears large. Alert brown eyes and twitching nose, finding sense upon the wind, ears rotating constantly, his whiskers crystal trimmed. And the only sound that I could hear was the jangling of the snow, as it tinkled across the lonely moor, swept by the cold wind's blow, which waved on through the wild grass and ruffled up his fur, which, although mostly pristine white, was snagged with burdock burr. The moments seemed to elongate as we stared at each other. Me stood in the drifting snow, him in his ground cover. Eye to eye, a knowing, a magic kind of seeing, a recognition of a life, another living being. Respect from one to one in that curious dream time. A step outside the rush of life, all here for me, just mine. Considering that hares mainly appear at dusk and dawn, nocturnal crepuscular they call it, in its poshest form. How fortunate was I then to have found him at his rest, as the sun on a winter's afternoon was dipping in the west. A kind of understanding seemed to hover in between, two kindred spirits sharing time within this sparkling scene. After a while, he rose and stretched, then stamped a little paw, and took off on his strong hind legs, bounding across the moor, in zigzag outlines on the snow and through the icy chill. Then suddenly he stopped and rose on hind legs, very still, and turned his head and looked behind at me upon that hill. Then, with one kick of his long legs, he headed up the dale. Soon all that I could see was his white, retreating tail, and footprints carved into the ice with the evening's creeping frost. Then after a few seconds, his fading shape was lost. 1 minute he was there, the next, then he was gone. Nothing left but his form, with the sun shining on. And I knew then, in that instant, as I live out all my days, that the memory of these moments would stay with me for always. How blessed was I to have received such a Christmas present, I pondered as I wandered home, midst clucks from burnished pheasant, and the rose and peach paintbrush strokes of the early evening sky, with the solemn calls of buzzards now circling up high. So if it gets too much this Christmas time, if you can, just get on out there. You never know, you might just meet a sacred mountain hare.